people would say, I have to maximize share value because the law requires it. And that's simply not true. The law in no way requires corporate executives or boards of directors to maximize share value. To suggest that it does is to say that they absolutely have no discretion to do anything else. And it's very clear that the law provides boards of directors and managers the discretion to make the business judgment that they believe is important for the long-run health of the organization. And that means not just shareholders, but that means the entire organization, which can include employees at times. And there may be situations that come up where it includes the community or the environment. There may be situations that come up where it includes their creditors. All of the other parties who come together to carry out production through a corporation they have assets at risk too. They have assets at risk that are not that different from the assets, from the way shareholders have assets at risk. Now, what it does require is that corporate officers and directors have to be juggling a lot of competing interests. And that's why the law gives them discretion, so that they can make the decision that they make, the best call that they can make, that carries out a kind of balancing among the different interests, with the idea in mind that they're always acting in the interest of the corporation. We really were in a place in the 1970s and 1980s when a lot of our older industries needed to be revamped. Okay, so in that sense, some important things happened in the 1980s that needed to happen. There was a lot of moving of assets out of kind of older industries and then freeing up those assets for investment in new high-tech kinds of sectors. And so we have a flourishing high-tech sector. But simultaneously, it became accepted, in fact expected, that executives, if they could save a little bit of money by doing so, they would close down, they would fire people in the United States, they would close down facilities, they would ship production overseas. Okay, and so what we've seen is that a huge number of jobs in the middle part of the economy have been lost because they've been sent overseas in the interest of creating value for shareholders. And my problem with that, in addition to the fact that it leaves a lot of people unemployed, those are, if we could redeploy those people effectively, that would be fantastic. But it isn't always easy to redeploy them effectively. And in the meantime, very often what these companies were giving up was their capacity to do serious research in the future. Why? Because a lot of the ideas for technological developments come out of people who are working on the factory floor. Not necessarily the hourly workers, but the people that are involved in actual production. We don't turn to our largest corporations anymore to see or expect the most innovative products. Now, I say that knowing that one of our biggest innovators is a company like Apple, for example, and Apple clearly engages in a lot of innovation. But that innovation started when Apple was a small company. Okay, so the innovation seems to be starting outside of the old corporate sector, and it's producing the emergence of a new corporate sector. And within that new corporate sector that's emerging, they are deliberately, the CEOs and the executives of those companies, they're deliberately taking actions to try to protect themselves from shareholder pressure. Okay, so when Google went public, okay, it created a separate class of shares that it sold to the public so that the existing management of Google would still have control over the company. And they did that explicitly because they wanted to protect the company from too intense pressure from the shareholders. Facebook did the same thing. Okay, Mark Zuckerberg still owns a majority of votes, even though he doesn't have a majority of the economic interest in Facebook. And my friends who advocate for shareholder dominance think that's just awful. But to me, it's a sign that they recognize that pressure from the financial markets could prevent them from and discourage them from doing the innovative things that they need to do to move into the next generation of innovative ideas. Executives who who were going to make their money by getting the share price to go up have been disappointed. So I'm hoping that maybe they're ready to say, wait a minute, maybe we'll get there by focusing on the business that we do, on the products that we create, the services that we deliver, what we give to the consumers. If we focus on that, the team we're building, the hiring the best people, keeping those people, keeping them productive, if we focus on that, maybe share value will follow. If you look at where the economy has succeeded, it's exactly in those sorts of things. And it's succeeded in places where the share price hasn't had that much influence, okay? Because it's succeeded in companies that weren't public yet, or when they did go public, they reserved a portion of the shares and a control over the company for the executives and the CEO, so that the financial markets would not be able to exercise so much, put so much pressure on executives to focus solely on share value. Your goal has to be to build things that create value for the society and for the economy. If you build it, the share price will come along.